Welcome to another episode of Michigan Tech's Husky Hour. In this episode of Husky Hour, Dayna and a panel of guests talk about what off-campus living looks like. Learn how to find an adequate living space, how to cook some cheap and excellent meals, and how to make your temporary living space feel like home. Enjoy!
I'm Dayna Browning. I'm the Assistant Director at the Center for Student Mental Health and Wellbeing.
Hi everybody, I'm Hannah. I'm one of the student interns this semester at the Center for Student Mental Health and Wellbeing.
Hi, I'm Bailey. I'm also one of the student interns this semester.
So my name's Nick Dabian. I'm a fourth year computer scientist here at Michigan Tech.
Hi, I'm Sarah Anderson. I'm currently a fourth year in finance major.
Hi, I'm Emily. I'm a PhD student in environmental engineering.
Hi guys, I'm Savannah. I am also at the Center for Student Mental Health and Wellbeing.
Do you guys have any easy meals for like busy days when you're on campus 24/7 and you don't want to come home and have to spend like a ton of time cooking or prepping or anything?
I don't know about anybody else. I don't know if anyone's like huge with like healthy meals, but I love making kale chips. Because hear me out, all you do is literally just like rip the stalk off of them. They take like 10 minutes at like 350 degrees. You can salt them, you can season them if you want, but you literally just throw kale in the oven on a pan. So I think that is super easy. Like, I'm really big into experimenting right now, especially with living off campus. Like now that I can't depend on dorm food, I think it's really difficult. But I think if you guys ever want to try, it's like a sweet potato. It's like a vegan like pulled pork, but it's made with sweet potato. So you cheese grate it, right? And then you put like seasoning in it, and you can put that on a bun and with barbecue sauce. And I think it tastes great.
I was gonna say one thing that I do all the time is fried eggs on top of literally anything. So they're really good on leftovers. So on nights that I am motivated to cook, I'll like roast veggies, make beans and rice, and then the next day. And the nice thing, the eggs work for all meals. So if I wake up late, I can put eggs on, or they're good even if they're a little cold, if you have them a little runny. So they're good for lunch too.
So I was going to say, I'm really bad with remembering to eat food. So something I've learned that helps is meal prepping a lot. But the thing with meal prepping is I don't like eating the same thing every other day, you know? So whenever you are meal prepping, just trying to like add some like variety into whatever you're making. Some days I'll have like a jar of mixed nuts. Another day I'll have some like granola, just really anything. So you're not getting tired of the same thing every day.
Yeah, and I would add to that too, if you haven't like ever really cooked for yourself, or like, you know, maybe you're just so used to the dorm food that you haven't like been used to making meals. I found like one thing that helps is just doing something simple to start when you're first on your own. So like maybe you just have eggs and bagels and pasta, and you just learn how to cook those things. And you're like, okay, I want to try chicken, and I'll add like onions. And now you know how to cook chicken, onions, pasta, bagels, eggs, whatever. That's enough to get you through a few weeks, and then you'll get sick of that. It's okay to just start with like basic things. So I think all you really need for like fast meals, like for me personally, I just need like some form of bread, whether that's like a bagel or a loaf, peanut butter, cream cheese, and then eggs. And I can feed myself quickly for like at least a week before I get tired of that. And that's like, you know, you can toss eggs in the microwave if you really have to, if you have to cook them immediately. But
one website that I have found really helpful is Budget Bites. I use it all the time. They've got a ton of vegetarian recipes, but it's not only vegetarian recipes. So if you're not, but it's nice because they're really affordable, and you can pair recipes that you make at a given time, like Aaron was saying, so that you don't get sick of stuff.
Yeah, I was kind of going to go off what Nick said, just having those basics. I know I ate a lot of eggs when I first moved off campus because they're just so easy to make. You can do a lot with them. And another thing is just like time just looking up recipes. I have fun just kind of experimenting with different things, and it's not always going to be perfect on the first try, but you kind of learn as you go.
Also, when trying new things, just some advice that I like to try to stick with, do it with your roommates, like if you're close. I remember one time my roommate, I came downstairs and she's like, I just made rice and chicken. You want to try it? And I looked at that rice and chicken and was a little fearful for my life because she didn't put any water in the rice or chicken. She just threw it in the stove. We ate that nasty rice and chicken for dinner that night, And I told her, please never do this again. Please let me help you next time. So like, it's kind of fun. Now we have a story about how she almost killed me with rice and chicken. Yeah, try it with your roommates. It makes it at least a little more interesting.
Another thing I wanted to say is learn how to make soup. Soup's so easy to make. You just throw everything together really and you're set pretty much for a week.
Yeah, I'm listening to you guys and I literally can't remember anything that I ever made for myself in college, which is like horrible. But I do remember soup, like my roommates making soup, and I'm really into that now. Like if you just pour chicken broth in a pan or in a pot or a crock pot, you can add whatever vegetables you have frozen or fresh in the fridge or even canned things. And then if you eat meat, you can throw meat in there. You can throw a starch in there. So like rice, potato, noodles, anything, super healthy and filling and great during the winter. So,
and I don't know about you, but I've never been able to make soup for just one day, one person. Like you always have leftovers. You've got now lunch for tomorrow and probably dinner too, because I am terrible at portion control and cannot make just a small thing of soup.
Soup freezes really well if you store it properly. So one thing to ask for birthdays or holidays would be like good like glass containers that are good to reheat and like soup sized kinds of portions.
So I wanted to ask if anybody was into meal prepping, and if so, like how do you do it? How do you start? Because I feel like a lot of people have talked about it. I personally have never, but it seems like it might be a good resource.
One thing that really helps whenever you're meal prepping, I know a lot of people, they'll just get like a single container for each day. It's not a good idea because you usually have everything just kind of like mixing together. Like if you want to put bread in there, you got something else that might leak into that, make it all soggy, and then you're really going to get tired of eating that every day. You know, kind of like segmenting things. I know it takes up more space, but you'll enjoy your food more.
Yeah, to add to that too, I think definitely like if you have like vegetables or something going in with their like whatever else you have, make sure that like, you know, you're not mixing like solids with liquids basically, because you can get really watered down food for no good reason. But it's really nice, especially if you're busy during the week, to spend like a week and basically like Sunday or Saturday just making a lot of food, like 3 to 4 days worth, and then just having that stored. I know some of my roommates will make like a huge tub, like a tub of pasta, and add meat and like, you know, tomato sauce into that, and that'll feed them for 3 days. It's nice if you have like super duper busy days throughout the week, but then you maybe have like 4 hours of freedom on a weekend and you're like, I don't know what to do with this. When I was in my internship, I would just grill chicken on the balcony every Sunday, and then I just have chicken, pasta, and broccoli throughout the week.
I wanted to make a quick note also saying I think it's really difficult for students when you're talking about like living off of campus. I think you have more worries about what you're buying, and especially with nutrition. You know, you can meal prep all you want, which meal prepping usually you are conscious about what you're putting in there. And usually I see a lot of people doing it because they're either following a certain diet or it's just easy. But cost is a huge thing too. So if you can find really like easy ways to just spice up the most simple meals, I promise you it's so worth it. Like something I do because I'm cheap. Okay. So I'll buy like either ramen packets or like the ramen like cups. Sorry if it's windy, oh my goodness. But buy the ramen cups and then you just add things in there. So you can like add a fried egg, just add different things into it, add fresh vegetables as well, just to spice it up, or even just like more spices. Another cheap thing that I've found that I really like is just buying like a ton of tortillas. Like cans of beans are maybe only $1 at Walmart. And then same thing with like some of the rice packets, only $1. They come pre-seasoned, and just throwing that all on a tortilla. And if you want, you can buy chicken, but if not, that's okay too. Putting that all on a tortilla is just, to me, super easy and pretty cheap, pretty cost effective.
I was just saying, speaking of cheap tortillas, quesadillas are my absolute best friend. They're so easy. You just get a pan, you throw a tortilla down, throw whatever you want in the inside. I typically do cheese and whatever meat I have in the fridge, typically pepperoni. And then you just toss another one on top, flip that bad boy in 3 minutes and you're golden. And then I like to use sour cream and salsa, you know, spice it up.
One thing I just wanted to throw in there, you know, during the summer and warmer months, the farmers markets have really great local produce, and Calumet does have an indoor farmers market, although I'm sure it'll turn more towards baked goods rather than things grown locally. But one thing I started recently was getting a Misfits Market subscription, which is like all organic produce, and they ship it and you can decide how often you want it shipped. But you can also customize your box, but it's kind of like the fruits and vegetables that like were too big or weird shaped or whatever, but I don't really care what shape my fruit and vegetables are as long as they're fresh. So, and it's fun because a lot of the produce that I get with that stuff, like I can't find locally sometimes. So that's been nice. And I think it's like $35 for like a huge box of stuff that I get every 2 weeks, which is definitely cheaper than if I went to Walmart and bought everything separately. So
Also, on the note of cheaper, I know that McDonald's, you can get a meal for like $3 because trust me, been there, done that. But it is not the cheaper route. Like you definitely want to get groceries. I don't know if this was like a problem anyone else faced, but like I know a lot of fraternity boys, especially that I've been friends with, they're like, oh, I don't need to buy groceries. I just eat out. And I'm like, all right, you think that $3 is the cheaper route at this point, but that $3, you know, 3 times a day, that's like $9 a day on junk food that's really not going to make you feel very good. So definitely grocery shopping, it can be a pain in the butt, like to just go down there and get all the food you need, but like super important, way better health, like for you, healthier. Get McDonald's like as a treat.
Does anybody else have any final comments for that? I like that you mentioned that, Bailey. You know, at the end of the day, you want to make sure what you're putting in your body is something that's going to make you feel good. I don't want to totally jump off the topic of food, but I want to try to get to all of my little sections here. So I want to move into living. How did you guys all find a place to live off campus? I know that for some of you, you're in a frat or sorority, but how did you even come to that conclusion too?
So I didn't live in my sorority house for 1 year after I lived in the dorms. And basically I just had a big friend group and we looked online, found a place, and it ended up working out really well. But I know that it doesn't work out for everyone. Some of my friends I know have problems with just having roommates that they realize are really messy or just have really different lifestyles than them. So I think when looking to live off campus and with other people, you really have to have those conversations beforehand, because some people think, you know, we should separate the fridge space. Some people think that we should all buy food and share it. So just making sure you understand everyone's needs and wants.
Yeah, those are really important questions to have with your roommates. Like, are we everyone buying their own groceries and like splitting the fridge and like you take this half the freezer, I take this half, or are we all going to do communal? Like my housemates personally, we all share like all the sauces, like ranch, ketchup, honey mustard. We don't need to have 4 of those in our fridge at a time. So we all share like communal items is what we call it. We could do condiments, paper towel, toilet paper, and garbage bags. And we know that we just like all take turns buying those things, and then we can all just share that stuff. But like if I have a sandwich in the fridge or something, I know none of my roommates are going to just randomly eat it. It's definitely important to talk that over before you sign anything too, because you don't want to get stuck in something where you're like, oh, now I'm miserable for the next year.
Yeah, I have a comment about that too. So this is my first year, or first semester, I guess you could say. So I lived in the dorms my first 2 years, and then I was supposed to live with a group of friends. That was in a house with 8 people, and I decided like I kind of don't want to do that anymore. Realized like I didn't get along with some of the people too, so I felt like that would be an issue. So I was glad that I at least got those problems out of the way because we had clear communication. And now I live in a house with a bunch of random people that I don't know, and they're for the most part all grad students. But one thing I wish I would have done is actually like talked to each roommate and really thought about, you know, what does everybody feel in a house that they're most responsible for? Because I found out people in my house don't really care about cleaning, and I do. So that's something that you have to look at and definitely talk to people about and set those boundaries and say, hey, what do you value? Like, what's important to you? Like, what do you care if I do and what do you care if I don't do? So yeah, set those boundaries, but make sure you find people that you're comfortable living with.
Hey, Nick, not to throw you on the spot, but how do you guys handle cleaning such a big house with so many people?
Yeah, I think it'd be much different if you only had a few roommates, but we have like scheduled cleanings. So especially during COVID, it's important that we, clean door handles and whatnot. But usually it's just on Sundays you're assigned your own room, your own bathroom, and then another portion of the house. So like I clean the landing just outside of my room, and I share my room with 4 people. So I think to Savannah's point, it is important that you communicate what you want from your roommates. Communication is the best thing. You can't just complain about it behind their backs or say, man, I wish this was better, or like, I hate that my roommate does this, if you're not bringing that up with them. So it's really important that you say, hey, like, let's have a discussion. I wish that you didn't, do this, or I wish that you clean this more often, or can we keep this common space clean, or can you not bring a dog up here because it's not in the housing lease?
So to go off on that too, you're going to come across people who don't care about your opinion or how you like things. Part of that's just kind of growing up and getting used to that. My house is kind of a party house, so we'd always have a bunch of stuff going on, and usually one person would be the one who want to have the party, and then everyone else has to clean up. It's kind of just like taking that as it goes. Not everyone's gonna care about your feelings, which is a bad thing to say, but it's kind of true.
I think just to kind of go off of that too, part of it's having these conversations and having some boundaries, but also part of it's checking in with yourself on your own flexibility. Like I know, Aaron, you kind of brought that up, and my family and my parents host like a huge Christmas party for all of the neighborhood every year. And like my dad wants to stay up and clean that night, and my mom wants to go to bed and clean early in the morning. And so they just kind of had to talk it out and figure out like, okay, you're going to do this at night and I'm going to go to bed and not feel bad about it. And then I'm going to do it on my time. So sometimes it's like having that flexibility to change and not always get what you want is part of living with somebody too.
You can also try out like new things. Like I know for my house, when we all first moved in, we didn't really know how we were going to separate the dishes and like who does the dishes. So we tried for a while to do like a rotation. So, if whenever there's dishes in the sink, you mark down when you did it, and then the next person in line does them next. Well, that became, oh, well, I'm going to use every pan in the house because it's not my turn to do the dishes next. And that was annoying. So then we had to sit down and have like a house meeting and talk about it. And then we decided, okay, 2 roommates use the left side of the sink, 2 roommates use the right side of the sink, and then you just do your own dishes. And that seems to be working a lot better. But we would have just been super annoyed and angry with each other if we wouldn't have just sat down and been like, hey guys, this isn't working. Can we come up with a better idea? So like you gotta it's very important to communicate with your roommates, like what's going on and how you're feeling about things.
And with dishes, dishes are like a sore subject for me because when you live with a lot of people, they just accumulate very fast. But one thing that we do that kind of helps is a whiteboard. And so then you mark down your name, the dishes that you did, and then the date. And basically we have a policy of if you have dishes out in the sink for longer than 24 hours, then either they'll get taken away or like in my old house, we would put them in your bed or something kind of dumb like that.
My roommate and I have marriage rules. That's what we call it. We both do everything together. And I know that's not always the case, but it's worked out really well so far because you both are taking responsibility and having the same understanding of what's yours and how you want it to be. You don't want things to be trashed or anything. So that helps a lot. What kind of needs did you guys look for when you were looking for places? Were you looking at like parking, snow removal, cost, location, that kind of stuff?
Definitely try and find a place that the landlord includes snow removal, because I will say that was my downfall. We did not, like our landlord's not in charge of snow removal. She'll handle mowing the grass, for the 2 weeks a year we have grass. But when there's snow 9 months out of the year, it's definitely important to try and find somebody that like will already take care of that. There's a lot of people around here that will do snow removal, and you can get like contracts with them and stuff, but it's just a lot easier if your landlord already has it included.
One thing I always look for if I'm living with a bunch of people, first off, the dishwasher, washer and dryer, and really just parking. As long as you got your space and you got those things, you can kind of just be off to yourself and not really worry about what's going on.
Big thing that I look for, one, parking. I like proximity to campus too, because I'm lazy and I don't always want to like drive to campus. So being close, but also making sure that it's affordable. Utilities being included is nice, but that doesn't always happen, and I acknowledge it. But also look into having a good landlord, like a landlord that you feel is, I feel like I talk to a lot of people who have different landlords than me, and they're like, oh yeah, like my landlord is really attentive, and they, if I have a problem, they'll attend to that within a certain amount of time. So they help you out and they're willing to do things for the house.
One thing that I was going to say is that when you're looking for a house, so this conversation isn't all that relevant to me. I'm past the time. I live in a house off campus that we own, so everything's a little bit different. But I think when I think back, it's really important to decide what you're willing to compromise on. So for me, when I was renting, it was critical for me that I lived within walking distance to campus because I didn't have a car. And so that meant that I was spending just a little bit more in rent, but I also didn't have to pay for a parking pass. And I also didn't have all of the expenses that come with a car. And so thinking about the things that you're willing to compromise on and the things that you're not willing to compromise on. So I totally agree with Erin's point. If you're living with more than 2 people, a dishwasher should be really high up on your unwillingness to compromise. Because after you get more than 2 people, like everyone's been saying, things just really start to pile up. And so just thinking about your priorities.
I didn't realize laundry, like having laundry on your rental is so important until I found my friends that didn't have laundry, and they're like, oh yeah, can you just drive me to the laundromat? And I was like, wait, you're telling me you spend 3 hours on like your Sunday just at the laundromat? I throw my stuff in the laundry, go back upstairs and watch Netflix for an hour and come back and switch it, like super easy. So thankfully I got a rental that had laundry. That was just luck. But if I was looking for a rental again, I would definitely put having a washer and dryer like at the top of my list. More than a dishwasher even. I can do some dishes, but I don't want to sit at a laundromat for 3 hours.
I think one thing with housing, and I learned this lesson the hard way, was having like clarity, like especially if you're getting like an older house, who's gonna have which room. My junior year, I signed up to get a house with some of my friends, and 3 of them were a year older, and then one of the other ones had asthma maybe. And I don't mean to, sorry, I shouldn't have said that about a medical condition, because I don't mean to underscore that, but I don't think she actually had asthma. But there was a basement room. And so because I was the youngest without a medical condition, I was supposed to take the basement room, which wasn't legally a room and had like a window about that big. And so because that wasn't like agreed on, I ended up having to like pull out of the lease and find somebody to sublet my spot and find somewhere else to live last minute with people that I didn't know. And it was kind of a mess, but that was like an ultimatum for me. Like I wasn't going to live in a moldy basement bedroom for a whole year. So in my mind, I had pictured having the big sunny front bedroom, and that just wasn't going to happen. So it was easier for me to pull out. But that's, again, that communication piece and really planning things out ahead of time.
I also think real quick that, like you said, communication is a huge part. Being able, even if you don't know, because like I said, I got thrown into a house very last minute with a ton of people that I don't know. And a huge thing right now is I'm going to be here another year, and since they're all graduating, our communication isn't as strong as it should be, or as I would prefer. And I think, they're going on and they're trying to find subleases and not communicating who those people are to me. So I think that communication is a huge part of any living situation, even if you live in the dorms, with you and your roommate. but trying to find people who are willing to let you in on what's going on, like work as a team.
Yeah, these are all really good points, and they already answer some of my other questions. Just communicating, how do you bring things up? One comment I wanted to make that one of our counselors actually told me last week when I was having my issues of my ceiling leaking, but he said, if you are having difficulties in your home, if there's flooding, fire, you can email the dean of students and they'll try to help you out too and find you a place where you're, displaced from your own home for a little bit. So that is an option for people that I didn't know about before.
Yeah, there are actually emergency funds available for both graduate and undergraduate students and it doesn't have to be a housing issue, but.
So I have a story about that. This was before I went to school at Tech, but some of my friends on the rugby team, at one point, one of the houses they had in, I think it was Houghton, caught on fire and also flooded at like the same week, I think. So the school just put everybody up in the suites over in WADS for about a month, I think. Gave them meal plans and everything. And I don't think they had to pay for anything of it. It's just, that's one of the things they do to help out.
Yeah, I definitely encourage people to reach out. Michigan Tech, like that's the thing that like struck me the most about being here that I didn't know before is just what a strong community it is. And I'm sure most of you realize that or will realize it someday, but we more just because of our size and our location, I think we're really able to bond together and take care of each other. So when you have problems like that, or even if you're in a horrible roommate situation or, an unhealthy, whatever is happening, reach out and we'll help you. And by we, I mean the Dean of Students office or somebody in student affairs will help you problem solve. And, it may or may not be putting you up in WADS for a month. Obviously, if your house burns down, then that might be an appropriate response, but we might be able to also offer help in other ways. So it's a good resource to remember.
Mm-hmm.
Also, going on Hannah's note of that meeting we had last week, so landlords are going to try and see as far as they can push you, like being college students, because we don't know what they can get away with and like what, is wrong. So, just kind of know, I guess, what's in your lease and what you're agreeing to, because like your landlord's supposed to take care of a lot of things that personally I had no idea. Like I had a squirrel living in my closet. My mom goes, "Oh my God, why haven't you called your landlord yet?" And I'm like, "Wait, they deal with that?" She was very mad at me because I had a squirrel for a week before I called my landlord and was like, "Hey, there's a squirrel living in my closet. Can you please help?" So just talk to your landlord, tell them what's going on. And then if they don't do anything, be persistent because like they're supposed to be there for you. Like it's their house. You are renting it. So if the house is falling apart, like they really should want to fix it.
Husky Hour is brought to you by the Center for Student Mental Health and Well-Being. Visit mtu.edu/well-being for more information about programs, events, and workshops. Thanks for listening.